Recording. Oh, okay. Then it was not on a while ago.
Because it goes all the way across. It's securely bolted. Don't be yanking on it, but you can lift straight up on it, and that's fine. And then on the front here, I like to stick my two fingers, and hook them underneath below where the lift bar is, like the main thing, and just lift straight up. Okay, it's sturdy. You're not bending anything. Because Seagull's handrail detail is hard to stay away from. And so I've played around with it until I figured out how I wanted to handle it. And the reason I was saying I didn't like that other carrier, it looked to me like the foam was going to smash in on all these piping. And there's piping on both sides. And so what I've done in this box, the rigid foam gets up against the running boards but doesn't collapse in and put any inward pressure on there. And of course, the one box just sits at the back here, and then the foam just sat, at the front. So it was just against the pilot and the cow catcher, so it's not an issue there. So, lubricator.
Okay.
All right. Holds about 5 cc's of oil when it's empty. It's full right now because my normal routine for running is to, when it cools, siphon the water out and put fresh oil in so that I don't ever forget. And I'll check it before I run it anyhow, but I like to put oil in before I run it. Alright, all the control layouts are all in the manual, but I'm going to run them through with you anyhow. So, speed around a little bit. This is your blowdown. Okay? The blowdown pipe comes off of the boiler underneath there and swings back around to the T's in right here, goes up to your water glass, and then comes down, hooks around, and here's the outlet. So when you open up the blowdown, it'll shoot the water or steam down there. Okay. I really didn't need to clear the sight glass. I did it one time just to play with it. But that sight glass looks to be bigger than other ones in the past. Not by a lot, but just by enough to make it that it doesn't seem to capture air bubbles. So, but if it does, if you're not sure, you're not getting a good reading, just you can just crack that open and blow some through and close it, and it'll settle itself back up. All right, let's take care of that side. Let me turn it around here. All right. This is the bypass. Okay. Open. Okay. And swing it back. Closed. And it takes a fair amount of effort to make it closed. Unfortunately, there's 2 positions for this. In other words, you can put it in this way or 180 over. And 180 over is worse than this. So we have what we have. So you're closed. You're putting water in the boiler when you're running because it has an axle pump. Okay. And when you don't want to when you have enough water in the boiler and you want to let some or all of it go back to the tender, you just flip that down and let it in. It works pretty good. Just be careful because I consider these radial valves that they use. They're great looking, but they're not the beefiest thing in the world. So we'll handle it with care. Yeah. This is your cylinder drain cocks. Okay. And I don't remember which is open or closed anymore. I think back is open and forward's closed, but you'll know. Remember I was telling you this one sits a little funny? Right. See how nice and level that one is? And this one here, for some reason, sits at that funny angle. And I tried everything I could think of to get that level, and nothing doing it. So, all right, next in components. So we have the blowdown, the bypass, the cylinder drain cocks. Okay. Now, 2 things that were radio controlled are the throttle reverser and then this blower. So I'm going to turn the cab around so you can see in the cab. Now, this is the throttle. There's 2 little L brackets, and they're under existing screws that were already there. I didn't have to add any screws at all to this thing. So these 2 brackets are just a simple L bracket. So if anything ever fails in the brackets on this, it's easy for anybody, yourself included, just to put a piece of sheet brass and just measure it up. So these are some screws that I had for they were left over for some KD couplers that I didn't use the long screws, and they work great because if you try to use the bushings and everything they give you on this, it's just too bulky. So the arms that they give you with these servos just aren't long enough. You need a long arm to get enough usable travel out of the throttle, so that's that. All right, this is the blower back here. That is closed, that is open. Other than when you're firing it up, I would just leave it at about that position and forget about it. And when you're building pressure, just reach in here and just tweak it with your finger into the closed position, going that way. And once you're getting ready, just it's a little, you got your tender sitting right here, so it's a little tough to reach in there. I actually was using the pump handle to just reach in there and push it over. Yeah, because you got the cab, you got the tender right there, and this works really well for just taking this and just going like this with it. And then once you've got it in about that 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock position, you're done. You leave it running, and the engine doesn't mind that blower. In fact, if you're running slow, it actually likes it. All right, the reverser is up here, and this was the trickiest thing to build. But I basically copied what Hans did. There's two arms that stick down off of the servo arm runs across, and there's two arms that stick straight down off of it, and then there's a bar that goes across, and that's all soldered together. And then there's silicone tubing slid over top of all three of those pieces. Just cut it and slide it on, put a little bit of Loctite on it. And the little bar that you see sticking out right here, that's the original handle, and again you slide silicone tubing over that. And that does two things. One, because you've got a bar sticking out like this, and you've got these two tabs sticking like this, and you're going like this with it, trying to move it. Well, of course, as this thing's sliding, it's going up and down, because this is moving in a little bit of an arc, and these arms are moving like this. And that, as well as pushing this back and forth, there's a lot of sliding up and down. Well, the silicone tubing slides very nicely, and also the silicone tubing took up all the slop that was in there, so that we had enough motion in the reversal. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my battery. I'm going to put this somewhere where it doesn't roll, but I'm going to. Okay, just to, I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but just in case, because I did want to roll earlier. Yeah, let's do it this way. Rubber banded them together. And what I do is when I'm firing it up, I let them lay there. There's no on-off switch. You have to plug the battery in, and unlike the guy on the internet, remember he said about being polarity sensitive? Right. Well, that's probably true if you're using somebody else's, but as long as you're using Spectrum's or JR's components, they only fit one way, and I'm going to show you real quickly what that is. It's a little hard to see on the receiver, but once you know what you're looking for, you can see it. I don't know how good your eyes are. If you look at that, you'll see that this back edge here is tapered on both sides. You see the tapers? And you see these are sharp edges. Okay, well the cutouts in here are the same way. Now the other thing is if you use JR or if you use Futaba, they're color coded with these same colors. Okay? And you don't ever want to take those out. Okay? If you do, you'll have to figure out which one. The throttle is on the throttle, and the reverser is on the elevator. And I went into the radio and made some changes so that it doesn't spring load the neutral every time. Okay. So if you plug these in the way the wires are, and this is the one you go with, this one on the very end, right next to this one, and you make sure the wires are color coded the same, so the yellow is always going to go towards that one. This is the battery out of my Berkshire, but no, my Mikado, but I'll bring it with so we can use it. So that just plugs in just like that, and you just slide it right next to the servo and just kind of wiggle it around, and it plugs in. And when you're done, just wiggle it and pull it out, and that's it. And what I do with these is I lay these two right in here. Just lay them in there, and they stay put. I ran it that way for hours and hours, and they didn't move at all. This, very nicely, there's a big opening underneath here. Okay, so it's very easy to take this battery and just slide these wires underneath here. You gotta wiggle them around, but I mean, there's plenty of room. You could almost slide the receivers in there, but they wouldn't quite go. You just have to make sure that the wire is curving the right way.